Cool. How's it going? Be working more on this big programming project. Of course, I'm using AI tools to help do the actual writing of software. So it's a little different these days than it ever was in the past. I'm only using free tools, so that is also probably a bit different than if I were to pay for API access and stuff to the current advanced models, which would probably help, but it's not worth it for me to spend money on that. So I try to use what I can. In this case, it's a mix of Gemini Pro and AI Studio, and also some stuff locally that I have set up. There's something called Olama. I don't have it running right now. And it works with Copilot, so I can run a local model. But I don't know if it's especially smart. I have a limitation to running local models because I just don't have the GPU power with enough VRAM to do the good ones. Which, I mean, that's the case of most people, but yeah. My GPU has 8 gigabytes of VRAM, which is pretty bad for that stuff. Anyways, this is the application. It's basically a studio in a box is the idea. And there's a bunch of different components to it. So we have transcription functionality. This is kind of one of the key pieces to the puzzle. This allows me to locally transcribe source media so that I can potentially do some automatic editing and such down the line for the videos, like video work. That's kind of the main hope, is that I can do as much computer assisted editing as possible. And with that, I use Magic's, well, it's not Magic's anymore, it's Boris FX Vegas Pro. Yesterday I bought the new version of it. And I don't have much experience with this new version yet, but it looks okay. Definitely better, hopefully, than 21 that I was using. That had a lot of bugs in it that bothered me. Here's one of the scripts that I'm working on. So it actually runs inside a panel that you can dock and undock. I told the control key or something. Do I just pull it? Yeah, I can just pull it off. So I think I need to see if I can style it a little better here, because the tabs were added after the fact when the styling code was added. And this progress bar on the bottom also could probably be styled. But the gist, at least at the moment, is this is going to be the not the editing side. You know, you can do editing yourself, of course, but also the goal is to do some editing with the computer. This is a bad clip for an example, but so when I clicked on this clip here, it knew that there's a transcription and also an automatic edit created for this clip, and then I can apply it. I'm not going to do it now because it takes a little processing time, because this is a really big video file. It's also just generally a bad example of that, that actually I might need to adjust my audio source stuff here. If I can spot it. I go into studio mode in OBS. And then applications, properties. Yeah, that's that one. That's probably right. Actually, let me close this just for sake of what? Oh, it automatic. I don't like that. So there's probably a setting that automatically opens the last project, but I don't know where that is. Let me see if I can disable that. Options, preferences. Okay, take that off. Confirm media delete, save active, pre-render. I don't know if that's worth needing. So I'll just slow things down slightly. It's fine. Let me see if that works. So I'm going to go into properties. Yeah, that's good. There we go. Anyways, ooh, pretty. Never use that. Or very, very rarely, probably. This might even be new for this version, or like versions that I haven't used. Camera LUTs. There are, by default, there's more tabs here, but put this in the front. And change the name of this. So that's the gist. That's kind of the structure. So in here, this is that's that panel. You can see it looks different because it has some styling applied to it. But I need to start up another chat and move on to different things here. So let's look over my document and fix this up before I give it to a new chat thing. And then I give it all the code, obviously, and then it implements my requests as best that it can. Hopefully. So we don't need this. TWOC is the brand name of my programming stuff. I've had that for a long time. I do have a website, The Way of Coding. So what that means, the way of, it's similar to martial arts. That's the idea I had when I came up with the name. So judo or taekwondo, do is the way of. So the way of whatever fist or the way of some such thing. Just the way of coding, as in programming. Coding, giving steps and things and such. Yeah. I think I have a about page, I think. Yeah. I mentioned it here. Okay, so judo is the gentle way, and karate-do is the way of the empty hand. Karate. So that was the idea. Anyways, let's try to get this going here. The AI wrote a lot of this, and it sounds kind of goofy. Executive summary. Primary. From the idea to editing, posting, and managing of existing content. Oh, that's spelled right. The system leverages AI models and analysis. Along with local trans and API of a non-linear editing software called Vegas Pro, applying edits to video footage. I mean, it's going to do more than that in some ways as well. It is no longer true. Is using applied to be an affiliate of their software, but I wasn't with the application thing. You couldn't really say much, so I don't know if they're going to approve it. See, the reason I'm saying this in here is because when the AI looks for things to understand what it needs to do to make something, I give it context, but also it probably goes on the internet or just has stuff in its own training data. And then whatever it turns into, as a fake brain, whatever you want to call it, giving it the differentiation of that is helpful in relation to software a lot of time, because different versions function differently or might have different ways of using it and such with APIs and things like that. And the older version won't necessarily work exactly like the newer versions. No, it's probably very similar in this case with the API because I don't think they've changed it for 5 versions or something since it came out. But it's good to specify that. File system architecture. Let's do. It's actually helping someone on Reddit yesterday with programming stuff. I mean, I don't know if my help was especially great or anything, but maybe I'll show it here. Because I thought it was good. So this person posted in the Visual Basic subreddit, and they're a beginner. So that they're doing C sharp here, and they didn't realize that there's Visual Studio, there's Visual Basic, and then there's I think you can sometimes call it Visual C sharp or whatever you want to call it, but C sharp programming. So, anyways, they when you make a new code file, it's going to default to something like that, and they wanted it to default to something like that. So I gave them a few ideas. So, basically first start off, it's this thing actually, but that's not the intent to be negative. It's just the intent to inform. And then I give them an option to consider, start thinking. So my response was in a way to help them start trying to think like a programmer and think of ways to facilitate what you're doing with the computer. That's kind of the goal a lot of the time. It's not always the goal, of course, but a lot of the time the goal is to do things faster, more efficiently, better, automate it. That's kind of the goal a lot of the time. So I proposed that idea and suggested to them to start thinking in that way. And then I gave them one option, a very simple option. It's just to make it once, save it somewhere else, and then overwrite the new one when you make a new project. So there's that. And then I was in the way that I did it, I tried to add some programming concepts in my response. But anyways, so a secondary one, considering this is the Visual Basic subreddit, I thought that giving them, what's that called? It's like a tablet or something that has different languages on it. And it was very helpful to historians. It has a specific name because they had multiple translations of, saying the same thing. And then it was used with all of the historian research and stuff. It has a specific name. Something stone, something philosophy. No. What is that historic tablet? Has multiple old languages on it. So we could understand them. Rosetta Stone. Okay, yeah, that's what I was talking about. Discovered in 1799. Hieroglyphic, Demotic, and ancient Greek enabled scholars to unlock previously indecipherable Egyptian hieroglyphs. Okay, that's it. So the Rosetta Stone. Let's see what that thing looks like. So this is what that was the goal here. I know I'm going slightly off topic, but yeah, there's the C#, a little program in C#. I did write some of this. I was on my phone though, and then just had the AI do it, you know. So C# program and then the Visual Basic equivalent, the same thing. So I feel like that's a good way for someone that's starting off to understand that, you know, the programming language, there's other types that have different thought patterns and different ways of being used. So there's something called F#, and there's other languages which I haven't really used. Let's see what, and I'm going on another tangent, but let's first look at the Rosetta Stone and see what it looks like. So I guess that's the Rosetta Stone. Okay. That's pretty cool. Hmm. Let's see if I can get back to the... Here's another look at it. Oh, that's big. Huh. Hmm. It was just a practical thing. 3 different versions of a decree. So when you go and you see road signs in countries that are more considerate of people of different languages, you know, you'll see like English, and you'll see Japanese or whatever, or Chinese or whatever country you're in, especially probably in Europe. It's probably different languages, I would assume. So this is kind of in that idea. Which is cool. And it's interesting that that was lost, you know? That those languages were so lost in time that one little, not little, but one random decree with the words, you know, keep saying, you know, it's cool, is what I'm saying. Okay, that's kind of, yeah. Hmm. Divine Cult. Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. Anyways, that was my idea with it, is to have two different languages with the same logic and design behind it, so that the person could see, you know, the language is generally not super important, but the design and the design and the logic and everything behind it, it is what actually programming is. So there's a lot of pushback for the AI stuff lately, even from programmers and software developers. But it's odd to me. And yeah, another subject onto itself. Because to me, the design and the function and the goal and all that is the vital piece of the puzzle. So I don't care too much about the implementation. I mean, it is, I respect it and I can recognize quality code and things like that. And it is important for maintainability. But, and it, you know, it's cool seeing certain ways of things being implemented in smart, like creative ways and all that. But for me, the design and the all that is the top tier. So if I can tell a computer to write the software for me, I'm going to do it. I mean, you still need the ability to recognize the domain that you're in and be able to test it and verify that it works as you need as well. Put on some background music. It's just generic YouTube audio library background music. So how this works is that usually I make a project. Whoops, I clicked on the wrong thing. I don't want to see that. I have a list of them here. So the general idea was that I wanted it as easy and quick as possible. And this is the naming convention that I came up with. So it will label things that don't fit that naming convention inside this folder. And then it also labels which ones have been, like set up to work with this system. So this one has, you can see that the little icon's a little bit darker. This one has. And inside here you can see all the different files and the different folders inside the main folder. And then I can go and process one of these. And then there will be a checkbox if it has a transcription applied to it. So you can see there's a checkbox on this one. If I click on it, and then we can see the transcription. And then if I wanted to regenerate it, I could. And I can add these different formats that are available with the open source project that I'm using to actually do the transcription. It's 2 different levels. There's one called Whisper Timestamped, which is the one that I need for the editing accuracy, because it gives you time codes for each word. And then there's Whisper itself, which is by OpenAI, I think. And that's just not as accurate enough by itself. But anyways, that combination gives you these options as well. And then there's a bunch of configuration things that you can do to it. And this is all run locally. So I could run on the CPU or the GPU. I can do these different languages. And then the different models involved. There's turbo, large, 2, 3, large, medium, small, base, tiny. And then the auto editing. This is the first feature that we tried to, we as in the AI and myself, have tried to implement. And then this stuff hasn't even been attempted yet, and there's probably going to be more. Problem is, I am spending a lot of time on this. I don't know. Hopefully it'll be actually legitimately useful in the future. And, you know, I'm the one that needs to make that happen, of course. But anyways, I could click on one of these and add that to the system here. And what it does, it doesn't use databases. I had considered using databases, and actually I started implementing it in that way. But it just doesn't make sense. And it's restrictive in some ways. And this to me makes a lot more sense, what is happening here. So it says 100% file driven. If we look at one of the examples, so I just added this ColossalCon North Friday project. So go in here, and then add this folder. Go in here, and then there's a project state. So double click on this. Oh, how's it going? Thanks for the follow. We can, I don't know which version that's probably, I can just do Notepad. Okay, yeah, so inside here, this is, you know, I didn't design the specifics of this. I just designed the requirements. So the AI does a lot of its own design in a way. If it's a JSON file, JSON, that's the way that data is structured. It's used a lot in internet stuff, web pages and JavaScript. But, you know, you can use it in any context, and there's a lot of libraries and things that exist to read it and write it. So it makes it easier to use. But yeah, so that's the beginnings of that. If we look at another one, which I have messed around with a little bit more here. So we look at this Glorious Keycaps project, which I did a stream on the keycaps on this keyboard that I swapped. And I'd like to turn that into a full video at some point, because streams just don't have, even a stream VOD that exists forever on YouTube just doesn't have a lot of reach to it, it seems. So having a fully edited video at some point will be great. So that's why I still have it here. But we can go into that folder, and then we see in here there's a bit more, right? Some of this might be old, because this is the main project that I started with. But here's the project state again. So we can open this. Whoops, I guess defaulted now to Visual Studio. Oh, please. I don't even use this version, really. Why is it not word wrapping? Anyways, yeah, you can see there's more in here. So we've got planned deliverables. We've got expenses, notes, and version. I told the AI to make sure that our files are versioned. So if in the future I need to change something and it would break existing compatibility of files or something, then we would have a version number to be able to handle the old files. So, you know, very simple way to structure projects now with those files. Then here, I also have it logging sessions of work in use. So you can go in here and look at one of these logs. This is basically the console output. This might get, let me see how big. 31 kilobytes. I think it's fine. But here we can see what I've done to this project so far, at least one of these files. So it's using the transcription feature, and then it pipes in that console output from Whisper, which is OpenAI's Whisper transcription AI model. But then I use something called Whisper Timestamped, which is a sub-project. Let me pull that up. I think it's this one. So this gives you that accuracy for getting a time code for each word in some sort of video or audio file. And this thing augments the actual original Whisper API system model, whatever you want to call it. So if you want to read that, you know, that's a thing. But it's made by this person or this group, whoever they are. Linto AI. Yeah. Looks like they have other stuff. Media management platform. Yeah, it looks like they're doing quite a bit. But that's what I'm using, this one. And it's in Python programming language. And I'm using C# and .NET framework and WinForms and all that. I'm used to it. I like it. I like how it works. It's a standard application, so my code had to interface with a Python thing. I didn't have any desire to convert it or anything like that. So that's what the code does in here. We can look around and see how it works, because I honestly haven't looked in much detail at the code to interface with it. So we go in here. So the Whisper Orchestrator, this is part of the TWOC, again, is my quote-unquote brand name of my programming stuff that I've used, the way of coding. So that's what that TWOC means. So inside this solution, there's a core logic sub project. And then inside there's a AI folder. And then we've got the Llama orchestrator and then Whisper. Whisper's the transcription stuff. So it's a class, obviously. And we can look in here and see what it does. So I had set this up for a different project, and I basically just copy pasted all of the setup. At this point, I'd have to look back and find. I would like to make some sort of tutorial or something to show how I set this V environment thing up to run Python and run it locally inside a folder without having a bunch of additional stuff installed on the computer. But that's what it does. So the goal is to keep it self-contained. We can go into here, and then that's going to be in here. Is it in here? No. Maybe it's in the dashboard. No. Oh, it's right here. Duh. So .venv, this is the Python stuff with Whisper installed and the Whisper timecode project installed into it. We can browse these a little bit, but yeah, you can see there's Python executable, Whisper timestamped executable. Yeah, so it's self-contained, which was the goal. And this boots up, when used, this thing boots up that Python environment to use. It's pretty big. There's a lot of stuff in there. So there's another Whisper timestamp thing. But you don't have to care about messing with it at that point unless you want to upgrade it. And like I said, I'd have to go back and see how I did all that. I should make some sort of website article going over it at some point. So there's that. And then this thing calls all of that stuff. So path combined is a built-in system I/O thing to mess with file paths. And then bundled Python runtime. I'm not sure what that's doing. So here's a transcription asynchronous function. Yeah, there isn't a whole lot in here. So we could see it's sending a Whisper result class back to the caller. We can go to here and take a look at this. So inside here, it's got JSON properties, and it's using the NewSoft JSON library instead of the other one. I had some compatibility issues. So one of the problems with this project, not problem, but one of the considerations is that Vegas Pro, the editor that I'm using as the front end, the thing that I'm automating to do editing and adjust things and whatever else, the API is .NET Framework 4.8. So it's an older thing. So that all of the other projects in this solution need to be able to interface with that. And it's basically sending data back and forth with these JSON files. And to have the ability to read all that stuff on the Vegas Pro script side, you know, it needs something to work properly. And this was the solution, is to use this Newtonsoft JSON instead of the other JSON reading and writing library, which would have been at the framework version of the other stuff. So it wouldn't have been compatible, is what I'm saying. And all of my go-betweens are .NET Framework 2, which would be the shared IO library. So you can see there's the Newtonsoft JSON, and then you can see this specific project inside the solution is Net Standard 2.0 for the framework. And then inside here, we've got quite a bit. There's a models thing. Whisper models. Yeah, this is storing the structure of our files. So we've got, in this specific instance, the Whisper result. You've got text segments, start, end, text, words. Yeah, confidence level of the transcription per word. And we can look at the sidecar base file. We've got a version for it. So the sidecar idea is similar to XMP, which is used with raw photos. So if you have a camera, like a mirrorless interchangeable lens camera, they're generally going to have a raw image format, which is unique to that brand. And sometimes, or a lot of the time, those you can't write any raw image adjustments to those files. And it makes a XMP sidecar, which is basically a second file that tells the developer software what things have changed or what things you want to change with this raw image when you want to develop it. So that's a similar concept here. Is for my sidecars, I have a bunch of media files. So video, obviously, and then maybe audio as well. And then my sidecars are going to define edits and define transcriptions and all that to it. So here's a sidecar for semantic cuts. Like I said, the AI defined a lot of, or made and designed a lot of the details for this stuff. So it might change in the future. But bad takes, good takes, highlights, action regions. So these are going to be used, hopefully, when it sees something like takes in a video. Again, my issue is local compute. I don't have good GPUs. So we'll see how it goes. But the idea, the hope, is that I can have these local models look at my videos and then see like what's a take. I mean, you can do it programmatically too. You don't have to use AI. You can just look at the transcription and see, okay, there's a big gap here. This one's saying similar things to this. So this is probably a take for this thing where you mess up. You're speaking to the camera and you mess up and then you redo it. I want to mark those in the source video so that when I'm editing it, I'll be able to spot, okay, this is a take for that, or actually do some editing based on that knowledge. Things like that. Yeah, so that's the general idea. A lot to it already, but still it's not in a state where it would be super helpful to me, even as it works now. I mean, the transcription's helpful, and that fully works. And I can actually generate regular caption files, but it's automatic translation or transcription, so isn't necessarily perfect. So to move on and try to improve it, I need to finish this document and then start up another AI chat with Gemini Pro. Like I said, I could attempt to do things locally in a way with a small model that I have running as a co-pilot in Visual Studio, but it's just not going to be smart enough probably to do much with it. I did try it once or twice, but it didn't do, like, it kind of looked like it was working well, but I'm just going to use Gemini Pro because I know that it's smart enough to actually implement stuff. It's failed a few times so far, but I've gotten around it. Whoops. Pour more water in here. All right, so that's that. Those are actual files, and then subfolders. Maybe we could look at one extra thing here. So I go back to here and this and this. And so this is one of the ones that I had as transcription made. Again, it makes another folder inside these subfolders that will store its own stuff. We can see we've got a transcription for this movie file, MOV file. That's made with a Ninja 5 recorder. So HDMI recorder that a camera feeds its data into, video data. So here's the auto edit.json file. First going to open Visual Studio. That's pretty quick. But inside here we can see this is a huge file. We got bad takes. So there's the section name. So the type of thing. I mean, it's not an efficient way to do this, but it works. And then you can see the start time and the end time based on the video position, position in the video for each thing. So that's a huge list of this. This is a big video, long video. And this video is, like, audio-wise, it's not good. So it's probably not the best thing to use as a test or example, but it works. So that's what that looks like. And then it can also generate these different transcription files. So inside here, you can see this is a full transcription. It's not perfect. See, that's wrong, whatever that is. Trison. I don't know what that means. Anyways, it works well enough. So let's verify this here. One strict core, or our strict core. I didn't write this. Architectural rules, 100%. File-driven system with zero database used. No, I had it originally. That's why I mentioned SQLite, because that was the original idea. Original database state is managed entirely via human-readable JSON sidecar files. Asset-centric architecture. Attach one-to-one to specific media assets inside localized TWOC studio data folders. Media can live anywhere within the project's file hierarchy. For example, if a MP4, I think I wrote this part, formatted video file is in the HDMI recorder folder, then when creating a transcript, I guess it's fine. That should... I don't know. Man, I'm writing worse than the AI. For example, if I do a file called it's in the HTML. How's it going? How are you today? If it's in this folder, the sidecar file called will be placed into take this into here slash, this is Windows, so I guess I could do that slash, and then this, and then it'll be like that. Let me look at my example here. It's all been made. I just need to give a new AI chat this document. Whoops. And go like that and like that. Do I have a project? There we go. That's good. I'm not too bad. Just working on this project. The general idea is to make something that can help me edit videos and manage all that stuff. Because I have a bunch of YouTube channels and different genres of things, and it's a lot. It's hard for me to deal with it. So I'm hoping that some software can help a little bit. Hopefully a lot. But, you know, making the software is a thing unto itself. So it says no intrusive pop-ups. The UI must use inline status labels and dedicated Studio Console text box in all applications rather than blocking message box dialogues. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of message box pop-up dialogues. So it says separation of concerns WinForms, which is a type of way to make interfaces and stuff. So what this means here is that if we look at our dashboard, which is this thing, what was just on screen, this is the dashboard. This is kind of the main application. Inside here, we've got our main form, which is this thing. But also, there's a bunch of code on the back end of it. Let's see if I can go in here. So generally what I prefer with this is that inside the main form itself, the CS file, C#, I just want the functions that relate to actions and events. So if something is clicked, if something is changed, then all that code is going to be in here. But then all of the extra code that you need, I put in this logic CS file. So if we go into view code for this one, you can see that it's a partial class. The goal here is that it just separates it so it's easier to deal with. Because if you put this huge amount of additional functions inside the main form itself, then you're just going to have a mix of functions that do things, other things, and then you have functions that relate to events on the form, related to the form. So for me, splitting them up is the best route. And you can see this code is kind of a mess because it's made by AI, and I go back and forth with it to fix things and get it working. So the quality of the code's not the focus here. I can always go back and improve on it and adjust things. Started learning JavaScript. New coding agents which are writing the code. Yeah, if you can do that, if you want to pay for that, definitely go for that. This is called Visual Studio. It does have it in here. So I put my face cam somewhere else. Down here. There we go. So this is Copilot, and I linked it up with the local model, which is free because it runs on my computer, but it's not great. I haven't done much testing with it, but it failed at what I was trying to do here. You can use one of their online models, which do work decently well, and these are the free ones. But the thing is, they only give you a limited amount of compute for whatever time, and it's restrictive. Depending on what you're doing, it might be enough. And I did write an application with one of these, or two of these, and it works. I can show that one. I mean, I would prefer to do that in some ways, but I've been using the Gemini Pro. That would, for what I'm doing specifically, I don't think that works with Visual Studio. We can look at it. I could be wrong. Okay, it's the OpenAI one. Like, how much do you pay for this thing is the question. Let's see. I mean, if you're doing JavaScript, yeah, it makes sense. I don't know what I'm looking at. And there's no reason not to try it and see if it does what you're trying to accomplish. So this appears to be the interface to it. It's got a chat window. It's got some type of change list. Oh, affordable. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's odd because why pay for programming? You're basically paying someone to program for you, especially if you're trying to learn. I mean, I think it would be good to actually learn it for yourself rather than using a thing to make the code for you and paying for it. But, I mean, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, it is good to learn the tool and understand it, and it's probably going to be one of the ones that will exist for a long time unless OpenAI fails as a company. But, I mean, it's fine. I just personally don't want to pay for any sort of thing to write my code for me. Because, I mean, I want to use the free tools, anything that I can, and I would prefer to run stuff locally if at all possible, but you know, getting local compute GPUs is expensive too. But at least if you do run something locally, for example, I have, let's see what it's called, Old Llama, which is the most basic way to run local models. I do on my other old computer. I set up something called llama.cpp to run models more efficiently. Let's see. So this is a llama, and I have two different models installed. We've got the Nematron Cascade. It's what is it called? Is it like an experts thing? And it uses different sets of its base 30 billion parameter model, depending on what the prompt is. And then this Quen 3.5, 4 billion parameter 8-bit model. So that one runs decently well on here. I'm streaming and I'm doing stuff, but my GPU only has 8 gigabytes of VRAM. So you can see that worked okay. So this specific one with Olama I mean, for what you're doing, it's not relevant unless you want to use this for some reason. But this is more for applications. So I have it linked up with this Copilot chat thing. So if I go in here and I can select the local model, and we can clear this out. So that's what that looks like. Okay. We can do a little test, but I think for you, what is it called? VS Code, Visual Studio Code. I think it has better support for AI programming in general. Which language? This is C# for this project. WinForms, .NET framework stuff. So it's just a Windows application. This is what I prefer to use. So I'm making an application to hopefully help me do video editing and video work for myself, because I have a bunch of YouTube channels and stuff. So we can do transcription and everything. Can learn C# after your 12th what? You doing some type of school thing? Let's see. So for the one person doing JavaScript, you might want to look at, let's see what it's called, Visual Studio Code. So this is going to be more textual than the standard Visual Studio that I use. You know, make something of your own? Yeah, definitely. Oh. Pursuing a degree. Okay. Oh. Huh. 12th degree? I'm not sure what you mean. Anyways. This is Visual Studio Code. I'm not super familiar with it. I have used it in the past, but I can't give any like suggestions. It's just one option you might want to check out, because it does have the Copilot functionality, and you can link up OpenAI. I would assume Codex works with the Visual Studio Code. So yeah, if you wanted to use Codex, you can integrate it with that editor as an extension, it looks like. It's probably worthwhile. VSC. Okay. Yeah, that's good. At the very least, you can use the AI to help you understand what's happening. So if you're going to give it prompts, so let's see. I don't have any of that installed, so I can't really get into that, but we can try to use this one. This is, again, running locally with this Quen open source model. I can ask it to please look at the function and write a top uh, let's see if this works. So hopefully it'll write a comment for this. Oh, okay. 12th class in high school. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm well past schooling, so I don't really remember or think of stuff like that. Let's see. So it looks like it's trying to do this. Again, this is running locally on my computer with this Olama thing, that specific model. So it is reading the right form. Or a CS file. Around 1997. So it's. That was when I got my first Windows computer. Oh, maybe late 96. And then I bought a book at a place called Best Buy. I don't know if you're in the United States, but don't tell me. Just anyways, a place called Best Buy because it's in the United States, and it's generally like a electronics store. But at the time, in the 90s, they sold books, like computer books. And I bought a Visual Basic book to learn programming because I wanted to make games. And then, so it doesn't look like it. No, it's writing. Anyways, yeah, 90s. That's when I started. So I have a computer science degree, but even when I got into that, I had already done programming for a long time. It's just a bachelor's. It's not like a. I did make some games at the time. I haven't really done anything of. I do have some apps on the Google Play Store, old ones at this point. They're some of them are like games, but I haven't made any games that are worth showing. Um, game programming is very difficult. It might be easier now with a bunch of these tools that exist and like frameworks and everything that exists now. I haven't really looked at it. These days I tend to do just more practical things to facilitate stuff that I'm doing. So let's see. So I told it to look at this thing and make a comment. But it doesn't look like it. Critical issues found. Async. So looking at the code, this is unrelated. Select workspace. I don't know what it's doing. Code analysis. Monitoring using statements. Potential improvements. Async patterns. Yeah, I simply wanted it to write a comment in here, but it doesn't look like it wants to do that. Give me like a dissertation of... So that's the problem with small local models. Check out your first game. I don't know if I have links available in the chat thing. It might block it. Is it on, like, what is that? Something IO that has games on it? I don't know much about that stuff. Or is it like a web game or something? Let's see. Exit code on cancel. Recommendations. Next steps. Yeah, that was an odd response. Of that. Let's see if this works. Yeah, so there's some clear limitations with these small models. It's a 4.7 billion parameter one. Maybe it'll work this time. You can hear my GPU fan spinning up. Come on. So we look at the task manager. Look at the performance of the computer. We can see that the GPU is at 45% use. And then the RAM is at 7.3 gigabytes of 8 gigabytes total. It depends. I don't necessarily do programming all the time, but I'm kind of on a programming stint. So I have been doing it a lot lately. Let's see if it actually... Yeah, it just says it really doesn't want to change the code for some reason. It's in agent mode. But maybe this model isn't capable of that. I'll show you. You can still improve using... Yeah, it's just not listening to what I asked it to do. Yeah. Put a downvote. Whatever. Let's switch to one of the online models. So if I pick this Claude one, again, you can use it in the free tier in actual Visual Studio. This is different than Visual Studio Code. You can run them, but they limit you on compute use. So we'll just do the same request here. Go back to Claude. Let's see if that works. So I told to add a comment block here. There we go. So that was easy. If you use a model that's actually smart, that's kind of the goal. So it said, handles the selected event for the project. So usually when I write things to these AI models, I try to think of it in a way like a programmer would think, right? So I'm going to do if then else statements. I'm going to have it look through the entire. Oh, checked out the photography channel. Thanks. Nice. Some of the shorts. Yeah, the goal here is hopefully I can make software that helps me make those vertical short videos more easily. Yeah, one way that I've handled those short videos, this might be interesting. I could pull up an example. Let me find a project that I finished recently. Maybe the backpack one. Tripod. So here's the video editor that I use. And this has an API. This is kind of one of the main things. Let me close that. So here's the finished project. And what I do with that to make the vertical videos, I've been doing a mix of scripting. I have it linked here. So this is one of my other scripts. Oh, it might not. It's not going to work on this version of the program. I thought I recompiled it. Whoops. Well, anyways, it's not. Oh, there it is. It's just slow for some reason. So these are some of the scripts that I had made for Vegas Pro. Oh, with the cosplay stuff? Yeah. Costume convention stuff. Yeah, so these are some of the scripts that I've made for the editor. For example, I can split up the video based on timecode, start and stop points. So with that, I've written some AI things with the Gemini Pro again to programmatically convert this into a short video. So it tries to find good points in the video and it suggests to me a highlight. So I can use the script that I made in addition to Gemini Pro looking at my video. So it looks at the caption data and it looks at the actual video. And I would like to do that locally, but it's kind of the goal with this other project, but I don't know how well it would work. Let's see. Can show an example of my prompt, one of the prompts. Oh, that's not it. Oh, thanks. Yeah. I have quite a few things. I want to make the general technology channel larger. So the photography one's in the YouTube partner program, so I make money from ad revenue. But the technology one, which it's there's two different tiers of the partner program. There's the basic one, and that one's in the basic one, the tech channel. But I don't get ad revenue, so I'm trying to make it. I need to make more videos and get into the second tier of the partner program. Anyways, we find some of my prompts that I use. Review. Yeah, a lot of them are reviews. So here's one of the prompts that I use with Gemini Pro to make a highlight video. So the input format's SPV caption file. And these are made with a mix of YouTube auto captions, and then I also feed the auto captions from YouTube into ChatGPT to make them fix them up, and then I personally go over the captions and make sure that they're correct to the video. United States. I have been to Japan twice, but that was a long time ago. So anyways, this is the prompt that I tend to use with Gemini Pro in the AI Studio thing. So I give it the caption data for the video, and I give it the actual video link. And Gemini Pro has the ability to actually parse the video itself. I don't know exactly what happens on the back end for that, but yeah, so this makes a list of time codes blocks. So the start time and the end time for each clip, each region that it suggests to me. And then the response that I get, I put into here. So just as an example, I would get something like that. And, whoops, it would look something like that. And then I would run this script and it would cut up the video. Yeah. It automatically splits up the video. So that's one of them. This silence removal thing is from, kind of. It does cuts and then it removes the stuff between it. And then there's a term called ripple, which it takes all the stuff and it removes the gaps that it left behind. Place photos. So this one with the convention video, for example. Yeah, kind of. So the logic is happening on the AI side. And then the actual editing happens here with the script. Pull up an example. Whoops, did I misspell it? Yeah, I did. There we go. So for this video,
what you want to do is save
ads. Turn that off. So I've got this GoPro footage, and then I show a picture, And it's basically like a big mix of GoPro footage, and then I show a picture. So to get the timing API uses, no, I don't. I don't want to spend any money on that. Yeah. So how that works with the scripts that I have made, yeah, I have this script that takes the GoPro footage, I put it on the timeline, and then I can relate the pictures to the GoPro footage based on information inside the files. So the start date and time of the GoPro footage, and then also inside pictures, it's called EXIF information. So it saves when you take a photo, this when the photo's taken, that information is saved based on the camera's setting for the date time, and I can relate those two things together, and that's what this does. So I could find, whoops. I'll have to look at whatever that was. I don't know what that is. I just yesterday I bought the new version of Vegas Pro, so it looks like it's complaining about something. I don't know what that was. Oh, did it lock up fully? Well, anyways, I'll have to look at that later. Yeah, so for those type of videos, these ones, I have some scripts for that too. So I just want to augment that and add to it and try to get this other thing working. Let's keep that edit. Let's go back to this. I need to finish this thing. And then I can start doing more coding with this project. This is kind of my full document of what I want to happen with this project for the moment. Does it work by video links or file upload? I'm not sure what I was talking about. But with my scripts, I just use the AI Studio thing with Google. I can put a link for what it is. It's basically just like a chat thing. Yeah, it's this thing. So aistudio.google.com. So if you have a Google account, you can go in there and mess around with it. They have a bunch of models. You can actually do like making applications in there too. I said the video gets trims. It's in the video editor, so I would eventually render the result after I fix it up, and then I would upload it to YouTube or wherever. I also put stuff on TikTok and Instagram. But yeah, the highlight video. So it's taking a full video and trying to compress it into a highlight of some sort for the vertical format of video. It would be nice to make those quicker. In a way, I kind of use those tools to facilitate it, but it's not perfect. Even with the good models, good AI models, they're not super smart at picking good spots in the video and all that. But I could potentially improve on that in the future which is kind of the goal of all this. Let's see. So this is the AI Studio thing. Kind of. Yeah, kind of. It's at the very least it's a little bit faster usually. If I'm okay with the results that it gave me, I'll run with it. And I still have to edit a fair amount usually, but not a ton. I don't have to manually go through the whole video and figure out for myself like what I want in the highlight. So let's see, let me go back to this document here. Again, this is the main. Oh, you're saying, yeah, 60% sounds about right. Yeah. Any little thing definitely helps. Like that. Let's see. This is good. Technology stack. So these are different sub-projects of the main solution for this new application I'm making. And then it says the different .NET framework versions that it uses for the different projects. And then this one's standardized with an older version of it so that the Vegas Pro scripts can work with other stuff properly. Yeah. Probably not. I mean, people can see stuff when I'm streaming it, but I don't think I'm going to put this out there as a thing. It's a personal tool that I'm going to use for my own work. I'm considering making this thing is just for my project, but one thing I do want to do related to the Vegas Pro editing application, I would like to make some sort of document to help people work with the API at some point. Let's not use system mandatory requirements. And it's tough actually doing work streaming too when people are talking, but just quickly trying to go over this. So I want to be entertaining, obviously, if I'm going to stream it, or helpful. If you have any like specific compute programming stuff you want to talk about, I'll try to respond. But I'm not going to stream too much longer. I'm going to get lunch pretty soon here. Let's see. Yeah. So I'm talking about this, specifically this application that I use to edit the videos. It has an API so that you can do those edits and programmatically clip stuff and move things around and whatever else you want to do. And there is a fair amount of information out there about this. There's a really good YouTube channel of another programmer that has written a bunch or made a bunch of videos about making scripts with this. But I would like to make some sort of document that AI can use and people can look at to deal with some of the more difficult aspects of it. That'll be nice at some point. But I mean, it's very niche and very specific to people that want to use that. So it probably wouldn't be helpful for you. unless you want to actually do some video editing. And this is a paid application. So if you do want like a free video editor program, making a screen capture tool makes use of AI. Okay. Yeah, definitely try to write down what you want to do and then start thinking about the details of how you want it to work. And I do think it's good with the AI stuff to give it a very detailed description of what you want it to work like, how you want it to work. Because otherwise it's going to infer stuff, and a lot of the time the good models are getting pretty smart, but even so, they'll just not do certain things or understand things or write it in a way that you'd want. Like circle to search for practice. Oh, I'm not sure what you mean there. Practice and API use? Hmm. All right. So probably adding a feature to that tool. Okay. Let's see, get rid of that. Circle to search. Oh, okay. You're the one that's into JavaScript? You're getting into JavaScript? Oh. Yeah. I do think the design aspect would be helpful to learn about in addition to actually learning JavaScript itself. That's always good, but knowing a programming language, especially now with how things are changing, understanding the design aspects of software and thinking about how you want things to work is probably the best thing you can do for yourself. Yeah, over the years I've used quite a few. Although I prefer the C# stuff. I mean, I've definitely done stuff in JavaScript. I do have let's see if that's the right link. Yeah. Whoops. So it's the GitHub. I just changed that recently. I have a little bit on GitHub. These are some of the tutorials and things that I've done in the past. So it relates to the website mostly, and the YouTube channel, this YouTube channel. So inside here, there is a bit of JavaScript that I have. Man, that's 10 years ago. So for example, asynchronous JavaScript programming. I had made, I don't know if I can test this on here. Probably not. Or show it. So asynchronous JavaScript set of functions that you could use to make an interface more feel like an application rather than a web page. That's what this thing does. And using the specific, whoops. I put it on the wrong screen. have a screen under this one. You know, the font is so small. Yeah, basically that's what this class function thing does. I made some basic websites. Okay. So this probably wouldn't be of use to you or anything, but yeah, I have done a little bit of JavaScript stuff here and there. And then related to the JavaScript, there's a backend example of how to interface with the web page to send data back and forth. As an example. And then I think I have a video. I don't know, like it's old code, so I don't know what the current standard way of doing things is. Let me see if I can. Whoops, / Probably made a video on that one. Nope. Yeah, it's this one.
Coding.com today.
So that there's a article. Okay. That's the wrong link. I have to fix that. Basically, yeah, I'm trying to make the video stuff viable financially, but it's at this point it hasn't been. Yeah, so this video, old video, goes over it, how it works, and then I have the GitHub for that, and I need to fix this article link. So that's not right. It's from the old website. At one point I had the websites on WordPress, but now they're hosted on Blogger. Let's see. Go here, switch this. Oh, I don't need that. So that's not. Just trying to update this description here to put the corrected link. So first off, we have to get the actual link. You've used Wix? Okay. I don't know how that works. Is it just like a drag and drop website type thing? I've heard of them. I've seen ads for them. Here we go. Okay.
This is Scott of webcoding.com. Today I'm going to...
This should be updated. There we go. Fix the link. Okay. Nice. Yeah, so that's the article related to the video, related to the code on GitHub. That's kind of what I was doing at the time. I mean, everything takes effort and time. So I just didn't do a ton of these programming tutorials and things. Again, I mean, if I am able to make things a lot more efficient, then maybe I can do more tutorials like this with the programming and such. But I mean, my YouTube channel for the programming is 90 subscribers, so it just didn't get a ton of viewership. So you have to make choices, right, of what to put your time and effort into. So that's what that was. That video was made 9 years ago and I got 360 views. I mean, it's probably just not a good video or whatever for people, or a very niche topic and everything else. So that's kind of the type of things that I was making. This is another JavaScript video. This one got 6,000 views, so a little bit better. This specific library, I don't know if it even exists anymore. We can look. So it's the PHAEL Raphael JavaScript library. So it still exists. And this is for drawing things in the browser and doing animations and all that fun stuff. So you could technically probably make a little game using this as the... I mean, it's probably not a great use case for that, but it could potentially work. So you can make circles and shapes with this library that this person made. And I was using it for some other stuff, and I made a little tutorial video at the time. So that's all of the functionality of the library. HTML canvas, vibe coder. These days, I don't know if I would call myself a vibe coder, but I've been using AI for doing programming, yeah. But I'm from the era of actual programming. So generally when I talk to the AI stuff, I talk to it in a way that a developer would talk. I don't know if that helps it or what with the results. Who knows? But I think it's probably pretty difficult for the people that call themselves vibe coders to make stuff that functions well if they don't understand the details of programming. Who knows? Maybe it does work well. I don't know. But I don't currently pay for any APIs or any, yeah, or any like advanced models, online models. So I don't know what the current state is of the really advanced paid for things to write code. But I mean, if it works, might as well. I'm definitely not against using AI for programming. I think it's kind of not great to avoid using it because it definitely is helpful. Yeah, understanding how to debug code and understanding how to read it and know what it's doing is a vital skill. And then even so far, like into the future, as things get better and better on that side of things for the AI to write code and verify its own code, you still need to know what it's doing and what it's supposed to do. Kind of having that domain knowledge of whatever you're making. So if you make an application that's in the medical field or something, if you don't understand that field, you can't verify if it's working properly. So if I make a application about, if I make this application about video editing, I need to verify that it's working properly and all that. So, yeah. So I mean, they can vibe out and make cool stuff, and if it works and it works how they want it to work, then awesome. So yeah, most of this thing is written with AI at this point. Uh, if you're new here, it's basically my goal is to make a thing to help me edit videos faster and just generally manage the projects better, make it more efficient. So for example, I can run this real quick. So here's a list of different video projects. So these are conventions and camera equipment and other things that I've done recordings on. And then, for example, this one's keycaps for a keyboard, which I did probably months and months ago now, if not longer. And I did a stream on it, but I didn't make a full video. So at some point, I'd like to turn that stream and then maybe any B-roll into a video. So there's a project here. I have different, various little interface. This is not super helpful, this part, but the transcription is very helpful. So it's a local transcription that I can use in programmatic ways to hopefully do some automatic editing in the future, but I haven't implemented all that stuff. But you can run the transcriptions, and this is based on the OpenAI Whisper API, which also has another sub-project offshoot called Whisper Timestamped. And then you get highly accurate timecode information for each word inside the transcription. So when you're editing, having that very accurate timecode information should be good to edit exactly where it needs to be edited in the video, the source media. And this is what this tab here does, is the transcription, and this works. So you can see that it made a transcription. I ran this a while back. It takes obviously some time for my computer to do these transcriptions. And this is based on AI stuff. So there's different models here. And then there's, obviously you can run on the CPU or GPU, and then the different languages. And then you've got different types of options here for the transcription. And then I also added a feature to do these additional outputs if I want those. So then I can look through this specific folder project and run it on different files. So if I wanted to run it on this stream file, it would take too long here to run this, but I could do that. So I click transcribe. It's going to spool up a process here in the console. If I click normal, we can see that it initiated. I probably got way too much stuff running for this to work right. I'm going to quit that thing. Let me see what my GPU is doing. So we look at the GPU thing is using, I haven't, no. I've been to Japan twice, and that's it, outside the United States. So it's using 2.8 gigabytes of the 8 gigabytes for this GPU. And then it's actually doing about 100% utilization of it for this time transcription. But here we can see it's pulling this is words. C#.net application. And then the Whisper stuff is, I think, all in Python. So it spools up a Python instance in the background console thing, and then it communicates with it back and forth. And then it pulls this information from that happening in the background, and it's displaying it to me here in this window. So we can see the transcription running with Whisper. We're about 20 something percent done, and it's looking at all the various information. It's just doing one file. So it's a MP4 stream that I did of messing around with these keycaps. So it's reading that, and it's reading the audio of that, and it's turning it into text. So pretty simple. And that's kind of the starting point of anything else that I would do with it, which is what I'll be working on with this application. I do have one test of a thing to remove silent portions of, of the video. But I have a bunch of other ideas to do automatic editing. So I can close that, and then I'll just cancel this. So that stopped, but I could always run that at some point. That's just the starting point. So I do have an automatic silence detection removal thing that makes a special file, and then I can use that in the video editor. So anyways, I think I'm going to head out for now. Appreciate all you stopping by and chatting. It was fun. But I'll be trying to work on this. I don't know if I'll do all of it on stream. Probably not, because I want to try to make it functional. And it takes hours and hours, and yeah, it takes a lot of time and effort, but it's fun in a way. So anyways, thanks for stopping by. I'm going to head out. See ya. Peace.